A very good afternoon to all our viewers. I'm Shivani Srivastav, Relationships Manager at Global Education and Training Institute. Today we have Ms. Mamta Gupta with us, who is the principal of DAV Public School, Delhi. She is an eminent psychologist and a guidance counselor with over 22 years of experience. She has held positions like principal, headmistress, senior faculty, and coordinator in some renowned schools. I take this opportunity to welcome Ma'am on our platform, and today she'll be speaking on the new education policy 2020. So, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shivani. Very good afternoon, Shivani, and all the viewers. I am pleasure to come on this platform and share my views on new education policy at the school level 2020. Before understanding the new education policy 2020, we should I would like to share a brief introduction of the history of education and what were the policies in India adopted. Initially, education policy started and introduced through Kothari Commission. It was set up in 1964 by the Government of India to formulate the policies for the development of education in India. Since then, all the subsequent policies of education have been broadly based on the recommendations of this committee. Each new policy only making minor additions or changes in an original policy until now in 2020, when National Education Policy 2020 has proposed to make significant changes to the earlier system. Therefore, before we understand the new education policy 2020, I would like to highlight some recommendation of the Kothari Commission. Under the recommendation of Kothari Commission, the education system was like 10 plus 2 plus 3 pattern, and kindergarten to be named as preschool and pre-primary. Classes 1 to 4 lower primary, 5th to 8th upper primary, and 9 to 8 lower secondary, and then 11, 12 higher secondary. 3-year graduation course degree that was under the recommendation of Kothari Commission. Up to 10th was considered as a primary level of education and 12th was secondary level of education. And the major change has come in this new education policy, that is RTE, the Right to Education Act. Earlier, in a Kothari Commission policy, it was from the age of 6 to 14 years. But now the major change is new education policy is the child of the age of 3 years up to the age of 18 years should have compulsory education. The education cannot be denied for the child up to the age of 18. And in the earlier education policy, the girls and women to be given special importance. Even in this policy also, is it the same thing? One more major change has come. In Kothari Commission recommendation, the study of science and technology to be promoted and encouraged across the streams only. And 3 languages formula was also emphasized. This time, The new education policy 2020, it was approved by Union Cabinet of India on 29th July 2020. Let's have a vision of this India's new education policy. This policy aims to transform India's education system by 2040. That means this policy is the it is with the vision of for 20 years. So, but obvious there would be many changes will occur in coming 20 years. The vision of 2020 education policy, it is an India-centric education system that contributes directly to transforming our nation sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. The major principles of 2020 National Education Policy is equity, quality, and affordability and accountability. What is this equity? Means the child from any strata, any religion, any state, the equal opportunity would be given to a child for their studies. From the age of 3 years to 18 years, every child should be given the equal opportunity for the education. The quality, yes, of course, the quality would definitely increase because as it is India centric education, this time it wouldn't be like this that they only have to promote or to clear the I'm sorry, clear the classes or examination. This education would be more of quality based. It would be more of experiential learning. Critical learning would be involved, and affordability and accountability. Affordability, it would be affordable, made affordable by the government, by the state and central government for all from any strata. And for the whole thing, the government and the entire education ministry would be accountable for this. In this national education policy, the major highlight is first of all, it would be universally access. That means the child is from any corner of the country. This education entry would be access for all. It would not be any kind of reservation based. And yes, of course, holistic approach would be adopted in this education policy. And this policy emphasizes foundation literacy and numeracy by grade 3. As we know, this time, sometime it happens even in many areas, especially in rural areas, up to 5 years, up to 6 years, it has been seen parents do not send their children to the school because they feel it's not the right age. They feel the child is very small. So why to waste money? This policy and even other, the educationists also, we all of us, we feel that's the major time of the development of the brain, that is 70% of the development of the brain occurs during these 5 years. So by grade 3, up to the grade 3, when the child would be completing foundational stage, the child's fundamentals, child numerical ability would be very clear. And yes, flexibility is also there. It is multidisciplinary approach. It's not like that the child has to study only reading, writing, arithmetics. Child has to use experiential learning. First, child has to experiment and then share what is, and then it will share its views, and then it will be called multidisciplinary. So many disciplines would be involved. Child would be able to speak, child would be able to draw, child would be able to express its views. And yes, it encourages individual and unique capabilities. As we all know, every child is special. So every child has some unique capabilities. That would be, these capabilities would become the possibilities. This education policy emphasizes the conceptual understanding rather than rote learning. It will definitely discourage the evaluation system on the basis of rote learning. Like throughout the session, throughout the year, many children, it has been seen, they don't study. Before only few days, even a day before, they start studying and they learn particular points, and then they sit in the examination and clear the examination. Sorry. In this education policy, it won't be possible because it has more practical approach. I would like to first definitely thankful to Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, who chaired this education policy, just like Dr. D.S. Kothari, we can't forget when we talk about education. Now, whenever we'll talk about National Education Policy 2020, we can never forget Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan. Few more highlights I would like to discuss. But before that, I would like to tell you that what is the structure of new education policy. The basic structure of this new education policy is, as earlier it was 10 plus 2 plus 3, now it is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. First 5 years, when the child will complete 3 years, has to start its education. It would be compulsory for the parents to admit their children in any school, whether it can be any neighborhood school, Anganwadi, any public school. But it would be mandatory for the parents to admit their child after the completion of 3 years. And these 3, 4, 5, nursery, KG, and first would be called their foundational stage. These 5 years, nursery to second standard, would be their foundation. These school would be called foundation. During this particular time period, they will have to study numeracy and reading, writing. Their fundamentals would be cleared, but through only playway. This education would be more of experiential learning. Their critical thinking would be used. And then the another structure is their preparatory level. That is another 3 years when the child will go in a class 3, 4, 5. In these 3 years, some critical thinking would be added, and some skills would be added. These 3 years would be called as a preparatory stage, where the child would be make them prepared for their numerical, and some skills would be taught. But it would be through their mother tongue. That is the major change. And yes, we should welcome, because it has been seen studying different language, another language, children, they usually are not capable enough to know, even to have a proper knowledge about their own language. So this education policy emphasizes first their own mother tongue, whatever their mother tongue, and then it comes to the middle level, that is 6th, 7th, 8th. This would be bit technical. Their internship also would be there. Skills would be introduced. Children have to learn some skills and they can go for some internship also. And then later on, 9 to 12th would be secondary stage. There are some principles of national education policy. As I already discussed about equity and inclusion. Yes, inclusion. The child, every child will have the right to education up to the age of 18, from the age of 3 years. Whether it is a special child, no, with any kind of inclusive ability, any special child would not be denied. The equal opportunity would be given. And yes, of course, a very main the policy, the highlight is development of life skills. This education would be more of based on so many life skills. For example, if child is good at coloring, child is good at gardening, child is good at computer education, then the coding would also be taught. Like by the end of the education, completion of education, definitely child would be expert in one or two skills, definitely, so that child can learn, or even it can start any other work also side by side. And regarding the assessment, yes, of course, just like earlier policy CCE, continuous comprehensive evaluation, formative assessments would be there. It's not like that the assessment would be at the end of the year. This time assessment would be at the 360 circle. That means throughout the child would be assessed. It has just introduced to minimize the fear of examination. Child would be under the assessment throughout the year, maybe through some peer assessment. Even the self-assessment has also been introduced and given the importance through formative assessment. Some practical experiences, experiential learning, everything would be assessed. And yes, of course, pen paper test would also be there. This education policy emphasizes respect for diversity. As we know, India is the land of diversity. So any child from any caste, on the basis of creed or religion or even any region, they would given the equal respect. It's not like that the developed states, if a child is from the developed state, that means child is would be known as more intelligent or would be given more respect? No. Now, child from anywhere, if has a good skill, good quality, knowledge, would be given respect. It is an integrated education. Experiential learning would be given major importance. And yes, how can we forget values? The education would be value based. As earlier also, values were taught through moral education and all. This time, value would be already included. Children have to find out the value questions or what is the value within their curriculum. Teachers and faculty as a heart of the learning process. It would not like be two corners. They would be an integral part of the entire learning process. And it is a rootedness and pride in India. That is, of course, when the policy, under the policy, many changes would be there, everyone would be respected, value based. It is a matter of proud. Some key points, as I already discussed, the RTE years have been increased, so free and compulsory access to high quality education from ECCE to class 12th. Skill development to be emphasized, more focus on practical experience and application of knowledge. It would not be like that the children, without making any experiments, without getting the knowledge, they will not be given the text to learn and to write. So more focus on the practical, what child learns actually and what is the outcome, because every child learns according to its own thinking, own perception. So everyone's perception would be acceptable and respectable. And yes, it is an integrated approach. Better infrastructure and improved quality of teaching. Yes, this time para teachers would be discouraged. As we all know, in our country, many schools they appoint just to save some money. Earlier, which was happening, some guest teachers, guest faculty, para teachers, and even Siksha Mitra. So many different names have been given for these teachers. It would be completely stopped because it's not a part-time job. For the teacher, it is 360-degree job. And child should feel happy environment, then of course infrastructure would be definitely better. And the quality also would be improved of the teacher. This time the teacher would be full-time and it would be an integrated part of entire teaching learning process. That means the equal involvement of the teacher and student in a curriculum. This policy emphasizes and yes recognizes the need to improve the quality of early childhood care and education. This stage was not given in due importance in 10 plus 2 earlier education policy, but this time they are giving more importance in ECCE. This time period, that early childhood care and education would be completely play based, no book pressure would be there, activity based and inquiry based learning at both stages. During this period of time, from the age 3 to 7 8 years, children have lot of queries in their mind, and their teachers would be using their queries, their curiosity in teaching, so that this teaching will convert in happy learning process. Foundation stage and preparatory stage. A dedicated curriculum framework to be developed for the foundation and preparatory years by National Curricular and Pedagogical Framework for ECE. Yes, it needs to be entirely changed. And this curriculum would be decided and designed by NCPECCE. It would be entirely changed because this is the most sensitive time period of a child's life. So foundation has to be strong. One more thing in this education has been introduced. As we all know, in many states, midday meal was already in a plan for the preparatory classes. This time, they have added a scheme of breakfast meals also, as they believe when the child will be given a better breakfast, then child will have a better mind, fresh mind, healthy mind, and will study better. So this policy extends the midday meal to the breakfast also. It ensures fundamental literacy and numeracy by grade 3. The ratio of student to teacher in foundational stage capped at 30 is to 1. Yes. In many schools, it has been seen that just to save some space and to save some teachers, they never mind about the ratio of the teacher and students. In classes, it has been seen 40-45 children are studying and handled by one teacher, which is not practical approach. So this makes mandatory to have the ratio of 30 is to 1 teacher. New basic learning programs will be created by government for parents to teach children up to the age of 3 years at home. Yes. Parents would not be left behind. It's not like that after completion of the age 3 years child would directly be admitted. No. Government will start some program to teach the parents how to care or cater the child before 3 also. How to take care, how to teach. By this way, it would be easy to handle for the teachers, one. And another thing, parents would also be a part of the teaching learning process of their children. So this is really good. That means preschool will be starting from the home. During this ECE learning, it would be made enjoyable through engaging pedagogy and especially design textbooks. Their designs would be, and their textbook would be more colorful, more value based, story based, so that children can enjoy the these textbooks, children can enjoy the learning. Medium of instruction would be mother tongue. That is, I already discussed. Now the middle school stage come. Focus on vocational training, carpentry, gardening, traditional arts, etc., and experiential learning. And yes, digital literacy and coding. This time, or any digital literacy coding too, so that after the completion of its study, child would be completely trained in particular skill. The three language formula to continue with greater freedom in the choice of languages. As earlier in a Kothari Commission education policy, it was only the ancient language was given the importance. But this time, as long as two of the languages are native Indian languages and one is any of as per their choice. For any state or any union territories will decide the languages to be taught. Study of Sanskrit and other ancient classical Indian languages to be encouraged. That is most important when we are residing in our country. We should know what is the history of our country. So, what is the ancient languages of our country? That is definitely most important. At the secondary stage, that is class 9th to class 12th, it would be more multidisciplinary. It's not like that if a child has been if it decides to take science or commerce just like earlier system, then child has to study only that particular stream. This time stream wise teaching would not be encouraged, would be stopped completely. Children would be free to take any discipline and to leave any discipline or and to opt any discipline in any class as per their own choice. For example, child started with science, any physics, chemistry, or any other subject. Later on, child feels is not doing well in that particular subject, and the child's interest in some other subject, some other discipline. Then it can change or add another discipline as per its own choice, ability, and interest. No clear demarcation between the streams, humanities, and yes, one thing earlier, as it was divided into three streams: humanities, science, and arts, vocational, educational. This time, child would be free to adopt any subject, any discipline along with no science. Even a child can take psychology along with chemistry. Any vocational subject can take along with commerce. Entirely depend on the child's ability and interest. So definitely we all should welcome this decision of the government. This is really nice. While taking multidisciplinary approach, it reduces the pressure on students. It discourages the exam oriented approach because the evaluation would be 360-degree. It's not like that. Just before a particular time period of the examination, children starts taking pressure and they starts, even waking throughout the night, which is really hazardous for their health. But it would not be like that. This time, they would be assessed throughout. The study of foreign languages at the secondary stage, such as Korean, Japanese, French, German, Spanish, anything, would definitely be encouraged, but at the secondary level. It reduces curriculum, reduced curriculum based in inquiry, critical thinking, analysis, and problem solving. Obviously, which is completely against the rote learning. Curriculum in all subjects to be related to the core essentials in each subject. Yes, it would be interrelated curriculum. Art integrated and sports integrated curriculum would be there. Experiential learning, which will encourage fun, creativity, collaborativeness, and exploratory activities in classroom for experiential learning and deeper student learning. That will definitely encourage sharing, caring, and yes, peering. And it will promote peer tutoring. Now, when the peer assessment would be encouraged, then definitely peer tutoring would also be promoted. What are the desired skills in children under the NEP 2020 school education? We can have a look. It's a service environment and culture, recruitment and deployment, and curricular holistic development of learnings, fundamental literacy, and it would be controlling dropout also. As this education policy emphasize that every year what happens after the certain year of the education, children drop out. This emphasize this policy that it will bring back the children, all the dropout children, within the 3 years of implementation. It will start scientific temper, evidence based thinking, creativity, and innovativeness, logical reasoning, oral and written communication, aesthetic sense, physical development, knowledge of health and nutrition, digital literacy. That means it shows all these skills that the child would be like, it is the overall development. When we talk about overall development of a child, then that means the child would be developed properly, and it after the completion of education, the child will have a complete knowledge of its subject and skills, a deep knowledge, because creativity would be there, innovations would be there, and who will be doing the innovations, who will be showing the creativity? It is the child's creativity, of course, under the guidance of the teacher. Innovations, children have so much in their brain. It's not like that. Actually, the problem, when the children are being given a particular lesson to uh, learn, and after that to start writing the question answers at the end of the lesson. Now the curriculum would not be like this. Children have to questions, find out questions themselves, and the answers of those questions would be within that. So their own questions, own answers. Obviously, it would be a happy learning, their mental, physical development would definitely be there. That will focus more moral reasoning, understanding of constitutional values. They will understand what is the values of their constitution, what is the gender sensitivity. We talk about gender discrimination, we talk about so many things, but once they will be sensitive through values, through reasoning, then the entire environment will be respectful. They will learn to respect the values, and they will respect the genders. They will learn about their own country and its culture. They will be given the learning about their environment. As since beginning of this session, I'm telling you about the evaluation. It would be throughout the entire session evaluation. What would be the technical methods of evaluation? Let's have a look. The continuous tracking of learning outcomes of each child. That means in every class, in every lesson, every time, the tracking would be there. And who would be the trackers? Itself the child's peer group, and the teacher. Then that means the three people, the three main people would be involved in their continuous evaluation. The evaluation on the basis of their behavior, their creativity, their involvement, self-assessment and peer assessment. And even this time also, we are teaching through higher order and foundational skills, and that also would be encouraged and exist while taking core concept of 10th would be more flexible to reduce the fear of examination with the assessment of essential skills. See, skills, can be taught and can be trained. And once the child would be trained with the skills, automatically there would be no fear of examination. Only examination fear is there when child has to learn of some other person's teaching and writing, because it is not of the child's own generated text. When child would be involved its own teaching learning, then there would be no stress, because child needs not to learn anything. Yes, of course, as a formal evaluation, semester examination system would also be there. Board examination may be taken twice for the improvement of a score. That is not still finalized. School examinations to be conducted in 3rd standard, 5th standard and 8th grade. To the test the level of development only for the purpose of understanding by appropriate authority, teacher and all. Exam after grade 3 to be taken for testing basic literacy and numeracy. That means it has been emphasized since beginning in this policy. These these foundational years, 5 years, first 5 years of the child's learning would be based on only literacy and numeracy. Child has to learn the basic thing, that the literacy, the language and numerics. If child has a strong base of the language and the numerics, then there won't be any problem for different stages of learning. Now let's talk about its outcome. As we already discussed, universalization of access from ECCE to secondary. Focus on 21st century skills of communication and problem solving. When the child would be uh, given the environment of to use its own creativity, and experiential learning would be given more importance, then obviously the communication and problem solving would be encouraged. Retaining all the children in schools until completion of secondary education as a result of better infrastructure and quality education in a school. It has been seen, when the environment is not happy, every time we can't say that the poverty is the major reason of dropout. No. Child doesn't enjoy the text. When child enters the school, lot of stress child has to handle, which child feels unable to handle the stress, result is dropout. When child doesn't enjoy the classroom teaching, result is dropout. And sometimes it has been seen, if the infrastructure is not attractive, then also when the outer world is more attractive than the classroom, then definitely how we can expect the child will be taking interest. So of course, this new education policy emphasize on better infrastructure to make the classroom happening. Overcoming the language barriers in education. When the foundational stage, foundational teaching would be through mother tongue, and later on they will be taught through three language formula, so many languages, then there would be no barrier. And this policy gives more freedom to adopt more languages. Ensure equity and inclusion. Yes. Still, we are giving importance to the inclusion, inclusive children. What is inclusion? Inclusion means every child should be given the equal opportunity of learning in a similar environment. Common standards for public and private school education. Yes. It's not like that in private schools the standard of teaching is something different, or in public school the standard of teaching is something different. That is why parents, as per their financial status, they prefer to admit their children in different grade wise schools. This policy ensures that the standard would be common of all the schools. Yes, we have talked a lot about children, their teachings, and yes, parents. We haven't talked what are the provisions for the teachers and how it would be helpful for the teachers. Let's see how it is helpful. It empowers the teacher through as a technology based teacher recruitment, planning, forecasting exercise to be conducted by each state. Yes, it would be the state's responsibility, or that state's minister, education minister's responsibility to recruit, to create the requirement and to train the technology based teachers. Career growth to be available for teachers within a single school, that is foundational, preparatory, middle, or secondary. Yes, of course. Teacher can grow from the foundational to even up to secondary stage as per its knowledge. Promotion and salary increases and incentives for high performing teachers. Yes, obviously it's not so easy job that whosoever has been appointed as a teacher, that means forever. No, if a high performing teacher is there, would be given some incentives and salaries accordingly. Teachers will have more autonomy in choosing the aspects of pedagogy in classrooms teaching. Yes, teachers would be given freedom. They can also bring their own ideas, their own creativity to choose the aspects of pedagogy to make the classroom teaching happening. Academic leadership positions also available for teachers. Yes, more pleasant and better service environment for teachers with cleaner work spaces, computers, internet. Obviously, when the uh, classrooms would be technology based, teaching would be technology based, then the environment for teachers with cleaner workspace, that is most required for the to take care of the technology. If we talk about recruitment of teachers, minimum qualification degree for teaching will be 4 years, integrated B.Ed degree by 2030. What does it mean? Now, the question must be arising in so many people, those who are planning to do the B.Ed, or those who have already done the B.Ed, that whether they will be removed or not. No, I don't think, it doesn't seem like this. The clear system, as I read the complete 60 pages of that national education policy, the booklet, it is very clearly mentioned that the B.Ed would be a mandatory, but only the changes after 12th, just like a graduation degree. If anybody is interested to opt educational field as a teacher, has to do 4 years integrated B.Ed. And like if someone is planning to do after graduation B.Ed, then 2 years B.Ed degree also be allowed after the graduation. Again, question, if someone has interested after post graduation, then 1 year B.Ed degree would be allowed. So B.Ed would not be ignored. Yes, of course, the changes would also be there in curriculum of B.Ed also. Strategies would be there so that the teachers can be trained according to the curriculum of new education policy. Teacher recruitment based on TET, NTA test, and teaching demonstration. TET mandatory for teaching. Yes, of course, the structure of examination of TET would also be changed. Past 7-8 years, there is no change in the structure of TET. It would be definitely changed. Continuous professional development, minimum 50 hours of the in-service training per teacher in a year. Yes, one more thing that is most important, and even we should welcome this idea also of the government. Now, uh, updation is very much required in many schools. Even teachers are not aware whatever the what are the new updation in the examination system, in the education system. So now in service, every teacher would be made mandatory to attend 50 hours of training to update itself about the curriculum, about the methodology. Even this is really good. Without anything, teacher would be updated. National professional standards for teachers by 2022. Before I sum up, I would like to highlight few more things. By 2030, the minimum degree qualification for teaching will be integrated B.Ed degree. As well, a new national assessment center, PARAK. You must have heard about it, Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development, will be set up as a standard setting body for the updation of curriculum and training to the teachers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us and giving us an insight to the Education Policy 2020. It was a real pleasure listening to you. And I once again thank you for joining in and being a part of GETI's disruptive education movement. With this, we come to an
Thank
end
you,
to
Shivani, and
today.
I would like to extend my thanks to Global Education at the Institute of Learning. So it gave me a chance to share my views about national education policy, and I would be looking forward for the same kind of opportunity. Thanks a lot, Shivani.
Thank you so much. With this, we come to an end to today's session. We'll be meeting again with another very informative and interesting session. Until then, goodbye and take care.
Thank you.